Okay, so you want to start a pressure washing business. You buy a machine, you throw it in the back of your truck, you knock on a few doors, you point the wand at somebody's filthy gray driveway, and 30 seconds later, there's a stripe of clean concrete so bright it looks brand new. The homeowner comes outside, sees it, and hands you cash on the spot. You've seen the videos. The guy who offers to clean a driveway for free films the transformation and racks up 10 million views. It looks like the most satisfying, lowest risk business on the planet. No degree, no inventory, no storefront, just water, pressure, and instant before and afters. And that's exactly the trap. Because here's the thing nobody tells you before you swipe your card on that first machine. The machine is the cheap part. The cleaning is the easy part. A pressure washing business that looks like a cleaning business is actually one of the most marketing dependent, weather exposed, liability loaded businesses you can start. The wand is not the business. Getting the phone to ring is the business. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what it costs to get in, how the money actually flows through one of these operations, what silently eats the margins on jobs that look pure profit, who's really making money doing this, and how the single mistake that takes out more pressure washers than anything else, and what the numbers look like when it genuinely works. We're going to treat this like the real business it is, not the highlight reel. Let's start with the price of entry, because there isn't one number. There are basically 3 doors, and they're 3 completely different businesses wearing the same rubber boots. Door 1, the side hustle starter. You already own a truck. You buy a decent gas pressure washer, a surface cleaner attachment for flat concrete, some hose, a few nozzles, and a couple of jugs of chemical. You can be operational for somewhere between $500 and $2,000. This is the version everybody sees on social media. And it works. For a while. The problem isn't getting started. It's that everything about this setup caps how much you can ever earn. And we'll get to why. Door 2. The serious solo rig. Now you're building a real unit. A commercial-grade pressure washer, ideally 4 gallons per minute or more, runs $800 to $1,500. A proper surface cleaner, another one $50 to $800. Then the part beginners skip entirely. A soft wash system. Because here's a distinction that separates amateurs from operators. You do not blast a house or a roof with high pressure. You'd strip the paint, force water behind the siding, and destroy shingles. Houses and roofs get soft washed, low pressure, chemical driven, using a 12-volt pump and a tank. That system is another $500 to $2,000. Add a water tank so you're not dependent on the customer's spigot, hose reels, extra hose, a pump for reach, and then mount all of it on a trailer. A trailer runs $1,500 to $6,000, depending on new or used. Put the whole rig together and a serious solo setup lands between $8,000 and $20,000. Door 3. The scaled operation. Multiple rigs, multiple crews, a box truck or 2. Now you're past $100,000 in equipment and vehicles before you've cleaned a single square foot. Different business entirely. But equipment is the visible cost. Here's what almost nobody budgets for. General liability insurance. Because you are about to aim a machine that can cut through skin at somebody's home, that's $500 to $1,500 a year for a small operator. More when you chase commercial contracts that demand higher coverage. An LLC and local business licensing, $50 to $500 depending on your state. And chemicals, sodium hypochlorite, surfactants, degreasers. The good news buried in there, chemical cost per job is measured in single-digit dollars. A full house wash might use $5 to $15 of chemical. Remember that number. It's the reason the margins look insane. And it's also the reason this business is more crowded than you think. So you can start for the price of an iPhone. That's true. What's also true is that the low barrier to entry is the whole problem. And we'll come back to that when we talk about how people lose money. So how do you actually make money? You charge per job, and the customer pays right there when it's done. No invoicing cycles for residential, no waiting. That immediacy is real, and it's part of the appeal. There are two ways to price: per square foot or flat rate. Concrete, driveways, sidewalks, patios usually runs somewhere between 15 and 40 cents a square foot, or a flat $100 to $300 for a typical driveway. A house soft wash lands between $250 and $600 depending on size and stories. Roof cleaning is the premium job, $400 to $900, because it's slower, more dangerous, and most competitors won't touch it. Decks, $200 to $500, so your average residential ticket sits somewhere around $200 to $400. Now here's the model in one line: jobs per day times average ticket minus your costs equals profit. A solo operator realistically does 2 to 4 residential jobs in a day once you factor in driving between them, setup, and teardown. Call it 3 jobs at $300. That's $900 of revenue in a day. And now watch the margin. Your chemical on those 3 jobs might be $20, $30 total. Gas for the machine and the truck, another $20 or $30. On a gross materials basis, you just kept the overwhelming majority of $900. That's the number that makes people quit their jobs. That's the number in every "I made 10 grand this month" video. But that gross materials margin is a mirage, and I'm going to spend the next section showing you exactly where it goes. Before that, understand the two revenue worlds inside this business, because they're as different as the laundromat's self-service machines and its wash and fold. Residential is one-off. You clean a driveway, you get paid, and then you have to go find another customer tomorrow. High ticket, high satisfaction, zero recurring revenue. Commercial is the quiet gold. Gas stations that need their forecourts degreased on a schedule. Restaurants that need dumpster pads and kitchen exhaust cleaned monthly for health code. Property managers with whole strip malls and apartment complexes. Fleet washing. Trucks that need washing every week forever. The per square foot rate on commercial is lower, sometimes 10 to 20 cents. But it's recurring, it's contracted, and it doesn't disappear when the weather turns or the ads stop. One commercial contract can be worth more than a whole month of chasing individual homeowners. That's the difference between a guy with a machine and a business. So where does that beautiful margin actually go? Let's start with the biggest one, the cost that quietly decides who survives. Customer acquisition. This is the real business, and it's the part the satisfying videos hide completely. Water and chemical are nearly free. Customers are not. Getting the phone to ring costs money. Google local service ads, pay-per-click, door hangers, yard signs, vehicle wraps, and the endless grind of referrals and reviews. In a competitive suburban market, a single qualified lead can cost you anywhere from $20 to over $100, and not every lead becomes a job. If you're spending $80 to book a $200 driveway, your real margin just got cut in half before you turned on the machine. The operators who win aren't the best cleaners. They're the ones who solved lead generation. Read that again, because it's the whole video. Seasonality. A pressure washing business runs on a calendar you don't control. Spring and summer, the phone won't stop. Deep winter in a cold climate, freezing temperatures shut you down. You can't spray water when it turns to ice on the concrete. Just like a gym gets a flood of January sign-ups and a graveyard in February, you get a spring flood and a winter drought. And the operators who go broke are the ones who spend the summer money like it's a permanent salary, instead of banking it to survive the quiet months. Windshield time. Every mile you drive between jobs is unpaid. It burns gas, it burns hours, and it's why a solo operator physically cannot do 8 jobs a day, no matter how fast they clean. Your day has a hard ceiling, and half of it isn't billable. Equipment burnout. These machines run under heavy load, and they break. Pumps fail. Unloader valves stick. Hoses blow. A commercial machine is a workhorse, but a workhorse that's down generates exactly $0 while you wait for parts. Budget for repair and replacement, or it'll ambush you in year 2. And then, the one that can end you in a single afternoon. Liability. You are operating a machine that can etch concrete permanently, strip paint off a car, force water behind siding, and rot a wall from the inside, crack a window, or void a roof warranty with one wrong nozzle. And the chemical runoff, the bleach and surfactant sheeting off that driveway. In many jurisdictions, it is flatly illegal to let that flow into a storm drain, especially on commercial jobs. The EPA and local water authorities can and do fine businesses for it, and serious commercial contracts increasingly require water reclamation systems that recover the runoff. That's a cost, a legal exposure, and an equipment upgrade the 10,000-view driveway video never mentions. Skip the insurance, and one dead flower bed or one etched historic patio can cost you more than a year of profit. None of these are dramatic on their own. Stacked together, the ad spend, the drive time, the winter gap, the repairs, the insurance, they're the difference between the $900 day you imagined and the take-home you actually keep. So who's really doing this well? Like the laundromat world, the winners split into recognizable types. The content operator. Now, this is the one you've actually seen, and I want to reframe it completely because it's smarter than it looks. The guy cleaning driveways for free and filming it. That is not charity. That is not even really a cleaning business. That's a marketing machine. The free job is the cheapest customer acquisition on earth. One afternoon of labor buys a video that reaches millions. And every one of those views is a homeowner in some city thinking, my driveway looks like that. The transformation footage isn't the product, it's the ad. He's not making money on the free driveway. He's making money on the 200 phone calls that follow it, the brand he's building, and eventually the merch, the courses, and the sponsorships. He solved lead generation by making the marketing be the work. Take SB Pressure Washing, a channel built entirely on this playbook. The satisfying transformation footage is the marketing. Every viral before and after doubles as an ad for the actual business behind it, which is exactly the point. The free or filmed job pays for itself many times over in the attention and inbound demand it generates. The commercial contract operator. This is the boring one that quietly out-earns everyone. They don't chase viral driveways. They lock down gas stations, restaurant chains, property management companies, and HOAs on recurring schedules. Their revenue is predictable, contracted, and doesn't care whether it's ad season. This is the wash and fold of pressure washing. Lower glamour, higher stability, the layer that turns a side hustle into a real business with enterprise value you could actually sell one day. The franchise route. There are national pressure washing and exterior cleaning franchises. You pay an upfront fee and an ongoing royalty on your revenue, and in exchange, you get a known brand, a proven system, and often equipment and marketing support. The same trade-off as any franchise. You're renting credibility and a playbook, and whether it's worth it depends entirely on whether that brand books you enough extra jobs to cover what you hand back every month. The lesson across all three. The machine is identical. What separates a $200 a week hobby from a real operation is which acquisition engine you build on top of it. So how do people actually fail at something with such cheap materials and such fat gross margins? Almost always the same way. They treat it as a cleaning skill instead of a business. They get very good with the wand and never get good at selling, pricing, or marketing. And a great cleaner who can't book work is just an expensive hobby. They compete on price. Because the barrier to entry is so low, the market floods with hobbyists undercutting each other into oblivion. If your entire pitch is, "I'm the cheapest," you've entered a race that ends at minimum wage because there's always a teenager with a consumer machine willing to go lower. The operators who win charge more and justify it with reliability, insurance, and professionalism. The cheap guy can't match. They buy the whole rig before they have a single customer. $20,000 of gleaming equipment sitting in a driveway with an empty calendar. Demand comes before capacity. Always. The correct order is, prove you can book jobs with the cheap setup, then reinvest into the serious rig. Not the other way around. They mismanage the seasonal cash. Spend the summer flood like it's permanent, and winter arrives to an empty bank account and equipment payments that don't pause. And the fatal one. They skip insurance to save a few $100s. Then etch a customer's concrete, kill a landscaped garden with runoff, or leak a roof. And one uninsured claim erases everything they made that year, and then some. The math connecting cheap materials to real profit only works if you don't hand it all back in a single lawsuit. So what can you actually walk away with? Let's build two honest versions. Scenario 1. The solo operator who does it right. You started cheap, proved demand, then reinvested into a real rig. You're running 3 to 4 jobs a day in season. You've built a review base and a steady referral flow, and you've picked up a couple of small recurring commercial accounts to smooth the winter. Gross revenue lands somewhere between $80,000 and $150,000 a year. Top solo operators in strong markets push toward $200,000. Now subtract the real costs: fuel, chemicals, insurance, repairs, ad spend, vehicle, taxes, the winter gap. A well-run solo operation nets somewhere in the 25 to 40% range. That's a take-home of roughly $30,000 to $70,000 for one person and one machine, a genuinely solid outcome and completely achievable. But notice the ceiling. It's capped by your own 2 hands and the hours in a day. One person can only hold one wand. Scenario 2. You break the ceiling. You hire a crew, put a second rig on the road, and shift your revenue mix hard toward recurring commercial contracts. Now you're not selling your own labor, you're selling a system. Revenue moves into the $300,000 to $1 million range as you add trucks and accounts. Margins compress a little because now you're paying labor and managing people. But the business finally has something the solo version never did. It runs when you're not holding the wand. That's the moment it stops being a job and becomes a business you could actually sell. The break-even is higher, the headaches are real, but the commercial recurring revenue is what makes it durable. The same way wash and fold, not the coin machines, is what makes a laundromat exceptional. The difference between those two outcomes isn't the machine. It's whether you built an acquisition engine and a recurring revenue base, or just bought yourself a very physical job. So here's where you actually land. The pressure washing business that looks like the easiest, most satisfying business in the world is quietly one of the most marketing-dependent, weather-exposed, liability-loaded businesses you can start. The people who get burned bought the biggest rig before the first customer, competed on being the cheapest, spent the summer money in the summer, and skipped the insurance. The people who win understood something the satisfying videos never show you. The water is free, the chemical is nearly free, and the cleaning is the easy part. The expensive part, the entire part, is getting the phone to ring and turning a one-time driveway into a recurring contract. The whole thing in one line. A pressure washing business is a customer acquisition business wearing a raincoat. And the operators who understand that before they buy the machine are the only ones who end up with more than a wet driveway and an empty calendar. You came in thinking it was a cleaning business, a machine, a wand, and a satisfying stripe of clean concrete. You're leaving knowing it's a marketing business, a scheduling business, a liability business, and a recurring revenue business, all at once. The pressure washer just happens to be how the customer pays.